Hey y'all, my name is Lindsay Lee Wells from An Abundance of Catherine, and y'alls are watching Book Talk. Hey, what's up you guys? It's Julie the Bibliophile here, and as Lindsay told you before, today I am here to talk about An Abundance of Katherines by John Green. I don't know how you guys felt about that intro. If you like it, it's something that I'm thinking about doing, starting my book talk videos with a character from the book introducing it, and then at the end of the year doing a character reel. I like acting, I like dressing up, I just thought it would be something fun and unique to add to the channel, so let me know what you think of it in the comments. If it's too corny, if it's cute, let me know what you think. I read An Abundance of Katherines like 2 weeks ago, is when I finished it. Speaking of which, I would really like to apologize for my absence for the past 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, I had a stomach virus, and I was really nauseous, and I wasn't really up to filming and jumping around, and then last week, I had a district concert on Friday, and I was losing my voice that week, and I also had to sing at my cousin's wedding that Saturday, and I really had to save my voice, and couldn't waste it talking about books. But I'm back now, and ready to ramble on about this book. So normally my book talks are really rambly and incoherent, and I forget to say like 10 different things, because I just go with the flow. But for this book, for the first time ever, I actually took notes! I took notes for the book talk, and I'm really liking it, and I just started taking these as I was finishing the book, so I had my general feelings. But if you want to see what it looks like when I'm taking notes on the whole book, I'm currently reading Snow Like Ashes, and yeah, this is what my notes look like. So, let's get started. So, An Abundance of Katherines is a story about a boy named Colin who has had 19 girlfriends in his life, and they're all named Catherine. They've all been named Catherine, and then the most recent one, Catherine the 19th, who he really loved, breaks up with him, and his parents are so sick of him being depressed, he goes on a road trip with his friend Hassan, and they end up in this little town in Texas called Gutshot, and meet this girl named Lindsay Lee Wells, and it's basically your average romantic contemporary, learning a new way of life, learning how to broaden your horizons, and meet new people, interact with new people, and just cutesy love adorableness. I give this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. It wasn't my favorite John Green book, but I did enjoy it a lot. Now, I would recommend this book to anybody. It's a very quick read, a very cute read, and if you want to read a great John Green book without wanting to die after you finish it, this is the book for you! Look at that, a non-soul-crushing John Green book. Isn't it lovely? I think it's a lovely sight to see. Most of you have probably read An Abundance of Katherines because I'm so late on this bandwagon, but if you haven't and you don't want to be spoiled, leave now. Bye-bye! Okay, so let's start rambling about An Abundance of Katherines. I loved Colin and Lindsay. Colin and Lindsay were adorable, but quite honestly, throughout most of the book, I was debating whether I shipped Colin with Lindsay or Colin with Catherine the 19th. It was always Lindsay from the beginning. I'm like, oh, Catherine is such a bitch. I want him to be with Lindsay. How could Catherine leave him like that? And him and Lindsay understand each other. They're so cute together. But then when I found out that Catherine the 1st was also Catherine the 19th, and he started flashing back to the memories of them, I just thought it was really cute, and I understood that she was still an awful person with the breakup, but I'm like, but they were so cute. And I think that really shows in a testament to John Green's great writing. Usually with books, I can just latch on to one couple and not even be slightly interested in any of the other love interests for either of the characters. But with this book, I could really feel cute and chemistry between both couples, so that made it very realistic. I remember the specific moment where I started having trouble deciding between Lindsay and Catherine was during the flashback to the coffee shop scene, which was his first date with Catherine the 19th, even though they had known each other before. This was their first date, counting her as the 19th Catherine, and the whole thing where they had a code with French words, everything about it was adorable, and I started feeling conflicted. But also, I immediately shipped Colin and Lindsay from the time they met at the Archduke Ferdinand's grave. And suddenly, she was this person that he didn't expect her to be. She was smart, just like him. What makes a romance for me is when the couples really understand each other, and that definitely happened with Lindsay and Colin. Which was especially evident in the scene where they go to her secret hideout, which is adorable. I love that whole discussion about the two of them feeling invisible in the world, but it's different if you feel invisible with someone. And that's just so incredibly relatable. Everything about that conversation was so relatable, and I could understand it so well, not even in a romantic way, but just in life. It just connected with you so deeply. And so I think John Green did a really great job there, and I honestly think that is the crowning gem of the book. One thing I didn't like was right after the whole debacle with the cave and Lindsay and Colin starting to fall in love, going straight into the hog hunt. Once the action picks up in a book, I really hate when the action picks up and then it slows down again. And I was really starting to get into this book, and it was breaking my reading slump, which I'm always in a reading slump. This book was breaking it, and I was reading like just as fast as I used to a couple of years ago. And then the hog hunt came, and it slowed me right down again. And I didn't read for a few days because I wasn't interested in the hog hunt. That was the one thing I didn't like, would probably be my one criticism, was the slowing down of the hog hunt that it brought to the action with Colin and Lindsay. Wow. Words. Another adorable thing between Lindsay and Colin that I loved was the first kiss at the end of the book in the cave, and how they were telling each other about their lives, and then all of a sudden, hi. And I love the way that John Green wrote that. I thought it was awesome how he just did the little ellipses to represent silence, and he didn't even describe the kiss at all, which I thought was a really unique way of talking about it. You know, usually when you describe a kiss, you talk about all the senses and stuff and what's going on in the kiss, but this just made it feel more private between Colin and Lindsay, more realistic. You don't know what they're feeling, just that they're kissing, and kind of also amplifies the shock that either of them might be feeling that, whoa, this is happening, and suddenly everything goes silent and the whole world shuts down. And I love that. And then the little line about, my first Lindsay, my second Colin, just adorable in every way. Another thing that I thought was really powerful that John Green did well that I was not expecting was the violence scene between Colin and Lindsay, the other Colin and Lindsay, and how he just started beating her and started going nuts. And the whole arc with Colin and Katrina and all of that was really something I did not see coming, so props to John Green there, because I didn't see the affair between Katrina and Colin coming until, like, the page before it happened, and I definitely did not see the violence coming until that moment. And the other Colin was already a douchebag, and then that just got amplified, but it was very powerful in how everybody tried to help out and kind of just stood to Lindsay's rescue, and Lindsay fighting back herself, too. No one was represented as the weakling here. It was just a fight going on, and it's a touchy subject. Domestic violence, if you can call this domestic violence, but just because it's abusal in a relationship, is a very touchy subject. It's a subject that a lot of authors, especially in young adult novels, might not want to touch on, but John Green tackled it. I think we know by now that John Green is really not afraid to tackle really touchy, serious issues, and I think that's one of the things that makes his books so brilliant. So, going back to that initial cave scene, the main idea of this book is that, like I said before, that really, you know you love someone when they can understand you and understand how you see the world. And again, I called it the crowning gem of the book because I think that's really the message of the book, the message of the romance. Each book of John Green's, each book in general, has got to have some kind of central theme. And I think that's definitely it here, is understanding someone and growing through love out of understanding. Aww. Okay, so, like, plot, romantic stuff aside, some of my favorite things about this book, first of all, I loved the footnotes instead of, like, parentheses. That was a really great way to use parentheses, was doing it by footnotes. It was something I never would have thought of, and judging that Colin is so smart, it really gave the book its own unique feel. It's not something you're going to see in any other book, and it gave Colin his own unique and distinct voice, and it also gave An Abundance of Katherines its own unique voice. And I really enjoyed it. It was cool. Not something you'd expect. The one-liners from this book, I was, like, crying because of this book. My friends and I were crying when I read, "Cock-a-doodle-don't, motherfucker!" I just, oh my god. Oh my god, everything with the rooster was just brilliant, but that one line just killed me. Lindsay spitting out, Katrina is easier than a 4-piece jigsaw puzzle. And I'm like, whoa. Sick burn on Katrina. She deserved it, honestly. But just, the one-liners proving John Green's humor. Once again, he always astounds us with humor, and he did it again in Abundance of Katherines. Finally, I loved that the last chapter was in Lindsay's point of view. I thought that was really cool, to not have multiple points of view through the whole book, but to just end the book with a different perspective. We got Colin's perspective for the whole development of the relationship, and then for the actual relationship and end of the relationship, we get Lindsay's point of view. Just a nice little touch at the end. So that is it for this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Book Talk. You can follow me on Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads, all linked below. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week, most likely reviewing Snow Like Ashes. Goodbye! How they ended up back in the cave and started talking about their lives. Mood killer.